Blood dried black under the Arizona
Over
sun.
there.
Two bodies lay sprawled in the dust of Bitter Creek's
He's the
only
one coming.
street, their guns still warm in lifeless hands. Cole Davidson holstered his Colt 45, the movement smooth as water, no wasted motion, no hesitation, just the mechanical precision of a man who'd done this too many times before. The small crowd that had gathered kept their distance. They'd seen how fast he'd drawn, faster than thought, faster than fear. Two armed men against one, and they hadn't stood a chance. Now they whispered his name like it was something dangerous to say too loud. That's him, Davidson, the ghost hunter. Cole knelt beside the nearest body, ignoring the whispers. His weathered face, carved with lines of grief and rage, showed nothing as he turned the dead man's arm to reveal a crude eagle tattoo inked into the flesh. His jaw tightened, the only sign that what he saw meant anything at all. Eagle tattoos, Wilson's men. He was getting closer. The sheriff approached cautiously, badge gleaming in the merciless sun. Davidson, thought you might be passing through. Still hunting them? Three left. Cole's voice was gravel and smoke, worn down by years of tracking killers across the frontier. Wilson and two others. It's been 5 years, the sheriff said, not unkindly. Your family wouldn't want... Cole's eyes cut to him, cold as winter in the mountains. My family isn't here to want anything, Sheriff. That's the point. For 5 long years, Cole had hunted the members of the Wilson gang one by one. 7 down, 3 to go. Each death narrowing his focus to a single point. Jack Wilson, the man who had ordered the slaughter of his wife and children, while Cole was away fighting a war that suddenly meant nothing. By sunset, Cole was miles from Bitter Creek, riding deeper into the Badlands. The desert stretched before him, painted in blood red and gold. His horse, a battle-tested Mustang named Judgment, knew the rhythm of these long rides. They would stop when it was too dark to follow tracks, not before. As the shadows lengthened across the sand, something caught Cole's eye. An unnatural shape crumpled beside the trail. At first, he thought it might be an animal, wounded or dead. But as he drew closer, the shape resolved into something unmistakably human. A woman. Young, barely alive. Her dress was torn nearly to shreds, exposing skin mottled with bruises and dried blood. Her breathing came in shallow gasps. Cole dismounted, approaching cautiously. In this wasteland, even mercy could be a trap. Miss? His hand never strayed far from his pistol. Her eyes fluttered open, pain glazed but alert enough to register fear when she saw him standing over her. She tried to scramble away, a cornered animal's instinct. I'm begging you. Her voice was a broken whisper. Hurry up. Just end it. Cole stood perfectly still, processing her words. She wasn't begging for help. She was begging for death. Then he saw it, just visible on her exposed shoulder. The crude eagle tattoo, the same mark as the dead men in Bitter Creek. In one fluid motion, Cole's Colt was in his hand, aimed squarely between her eyes. Wilson's gang. You're one of them. Not a question. No. She tried to speak, then coughed, blood speckling her cracked lips. Not by choice. There's always a choice. Cole's finger tensed on the trigger. He killed my mother. The words tumbled out, desperate and raw. Raised me like an animal. Branded me. I ran. He sold me to Malcolm Reed. Something in her eyes, a familiar emptiness Cole recognized from his own reflection, made him hesitate. He'd seen eyes like that before, in soldiers who'd survived things no man should, in his own face, after finding his family. What's your name? He demanded, gun still unwavering. Sarah Miller. She tried to sit up, wincing. If you're going to kill me, do it now. They'll be looking for me. Cole's mind calculated rapidly. If she was telling the truth, she might know Wilson's location. If she was lying, she might be bait for a trap. Either way, she was a connection to the man he'd spent 5 years hunting. He checked Judgment's saddlebags, enough ammunition, dried meat for 3 days, a canteen still half full. His Winchester rifle gleamed in its scabbard, ready. "Can you ride?" he asked. Confusion flickered across her bruised face. "You're not going to kill me?" "Not yet." Cole holstered his weapon and moved toward her. "But hear me clearly. If you're setting a trap, if you're lying about Wilson, I'll finish what he started." He lifted her onto his horse with surprising gentleness, then mounted behind her. As they rode toward the Superstition Mountains where his hidden cabin waited, Cole felt her shivering against him. From cold, from fear, or from relief, he couldn't tell. What he did know was that after 5 years of hunting ghosts, he might finally have found the path to Jack Wilson. The thought burned in his chest like whiskey, painful, clarifying, and dangerously intoxicating. 3 days later, Cole stood at the window of his mountain cabin, watching the approach of a familiar rider. Sarah slept fitfully on the narrow cot where he'd tended her wounds with battlefield medicine, learned in a war most folks were trying to forget. Her fever had broken that morning, and with it, she'd shared pieces of information. Wilson's camp near the Mexican border, the number of men, the shipments of girls across the border for men like Reed. The approaching rider was trouble, but the kind Cole knew how to handle. Hank Redman, former Texas Ranger, bounty hunter, and the closest thing Cole had to a friend in this world. Their bond had been forged in blood. They'd faced each other across a battlefield in the war, then years later fought back-to-back against a Comanche war party. Some debts transcended old loyalties. "Expecting company?" Sarah's voice came from behind him, stronger than before. "Just the one man I trust in this territory," Cole replied without turning. "Get dressed. You're about to meet him." Hank dismounted with the stiffness of a man who'd spent too many years in the saddle. His face tanned to leather beneath his silver hair, broke into a grim smile when Cole opened the door. "Heard there was some shooting in Bitter Creek," Hank said by way of greeting. "Figured it had your signature on it." "Two more down," Cole confirmed, stepping aside to let the older man enter. Hank's eyes narrowed when he saw Sarah. "And who might this be?" "Sarah Miller. She ran from Wilson's gang." Cole kept his voice neutral. "Says she knows where to find him." Hank removed his hat, revealing a web of scars across his scalp, souvenirs from decades on the frontier. "Ma'am." Then to Cole, "Need a word. Outside." The cold mountain air carried the scent of pine as the two men stood on the cabin's porch. "There's a bounty out for her," Hank said without preamble. $500, dead or alive. Put up by Malcolm Reed himself. "What's the charge?" "Murder of his house servant." Hank spat into the dust. "But that's not Reed's real business, as you well know." Cole's face hardened. "Human trafficking." "Girls from both sides of the border," Hank confirmed. "Word is, he and Wilson had a falling out. Used to be partners." "She told me as much." Cole stared at the horizon, where storm clouds gathered over distant peaks. "I'm going after Wilson. She's going to lead me to him." Hank's weathered hand fell on Cole's shoulder. "That's a suicide mission, son. Wilson's got at least 10 guns at his camp." "Then I'll need help." Cole turned to face his old friend. "One last hunt, Hank." The former ranger shook his head slowly. "You know what they say about vengeance. Dig 2 graves." "I've been digging graves for 5 years." Cole's voice was ice. "What's 2 more?" Inside the cabin, Sarah listened to their muffled voices, her hands trembling as she pulled on the clean shirt Cole had given her. She moved to the small mirror above the wash basin, studying her reflection. The bruises were fading from purple to yellow, but the haunted look in her eyes remained. as did the eagle tattoo. Wilson's mark of ownership burned into her flesh. She touched it gently, remembering the day he'd held her down and branded her like cattle. She'd been 14. The door opened and both men entered. Their faces told her everything she needed to know. "There's a price on your head," Cole said flatly. Sarah nodded. "Reed, I expected as much." "Tell me about Wilson's camp," Cole demanded. "Everything. How many men? Weapons? Layout?" Sarah sat at the rough wooden table, her back straight despite the pain. 15 men usually. Heavy weapons, Gatling gun mounted at the north approach. Shipments every 2 weeks. Next one's in 4 days. "And Wilson himself?" Hank asked. "Cabin at the center of camp. Never alone. 2 guards minimum." Her voice grew softer. "He sleeps light, has nightmares. Drinks to quiet them." Cole and Hank exchanged glances. "We'll need more guns," Hank said. "No time to gather a posse," Cole countered. "Besides, who'd ride with us? This isn't official business." Sarah cleared her throat. "I can shoot. Wilson made sure of that." Cole studied her for a long moment. "Can you kill? For Wilson?" Sarah's eyes met his, unwavering, without hesitation. The next morning broke clear and cold. Cole led Sarah to a small clearing behind the cabin, setting up empty bottles on a fallen log. He handed her his Colt, a test and a risk. "Show me," he commanded. Without hesitation, Sarah took aim and fired. 5 shots, 5 bottles shattered. The last one from a distance that made Hank raise his eyebrows in reluctant approval. "Wilson taught all his girls," she explained, handing the gun back to Cole. "Said a woman who can shoot is worth twice as much to the right buyer." They spent the day preparing, cleaning weapons, checking ammunition, planning routes through territory Cole knew like the lines on his own face. By nightfall, they were ready to ride at first light. As darkness settled over the mountains, Hank shared stories of his ranger days around the small fire. Tales of the frontier's early days, of Comanches and cattle barons, of a changing world where men like him were becoming relics. "Knew Wild Bill Hickok," he told Sarah, his voice softening with memory. "Wasn't as fast as they say in the dime novels. But he had something better. He could read a man's intentions before they knew them themselves." Cole listened silently, cleaning his Winchester with methodical precision. Tomorrow they would ride into the Badlands where Wilson waited. The end of a 5-year hunt was within reach. He should have felt something. Anticipation, perhaps, or the cold clarity of purpose fulfilled. Instead, he felt hollow, as if he'd already died years ago and was just waiting for his body to realize it. Sarah watched him from across the fire, her face half illuminated in the dancing light. "What happens after Wilson?" she asked quietly. Cole's hands stilled on the rifle. The question had never occurred to him. Vengeance had been his only horizon for so long that he couldn't see past it. "Never thought I'd live that long," he admitted. Hank snorted. "That's the problem with vengeance, son. Either it kills you, or you kill it. And then you've got to figure out how to live with what's left." They were 3 days' ride from Wilson's camp when trouble found them. The ambush came at dawn, 2 riders appearing suddenly on the ridge above their camp, rifles already firing. Cole rolled instantly from his bedroll, drawing and firing in a single motion. His first shot struck one attacker in the chest, sending him tumbling from his horse. The second rider took aim at Hank, who was slower to react. The bullet caught the old ranger in the shoulder, spinning him to the ground. Before Cole could pivot to return fire, Sarah's Winchester cracked beside him. The second attacker clutched his throat, then fell forward across his saddle horn. "Reed's men," Sarah said grimly as they inspected the bodies. Neither carried identification, but their weapons were expensive, the tools of professional killers. Hank's wound was serious but not immediately fatal. They patched him as best they could and pressed on toward Diablo's Cross, the last settlement before Wilson's territory. The small town existed in the shadowy space between two nations, too remote for law, too profitable for either government to eliminate. By the time they reached its dusty streets, Hank was burning with fever. Cole half carried him to the town's only doctor, a former Union Army surgeon named Sullivan, who had his own reasons for disappearing into the borderlands. "Confederate, huh?" Sullivan remarked, noting the faded gray jacket Cole still wore. "Not sure I should be saving your friend." Cole's hand moved to his gun. "War's been over a long time, Doc." Sullivan snorted. "Tell that to the widows." But he worked on Hank with skilled hands, extracting the bullet and cleaning the wound with whiskey. "He needs rest, at least 3 days." Cole shook his head. "We don't have 3 days." While Hank was treated, Cole secured a room at the town's only hotel, a grandiose name for what was essentially a brothel with extra beds. He and Sarah took turns keeping watch, neither fully trusting the other, despite the bonds forged in blood and gunfire. On the second night, Cole returned from buying supplies to find their room empty. Sarah was gone. On the bed lay a folded piece of paper. "They're watching. I'm the bait. Forgive me." Cold fear gripped him, not for himself, but for what this might mean. He raced back to Sullivan's clinic, only to find the door ajar. Inside, Hank lay in a widening pool of blood, his throat cut. But the old ranger wasn't quite dead. As Cole knelt beside him, Hank's eyes flickered open one last time. "Not her," he gasped. "Reed came himself." Then the light faded from the old lawman's eyes, and Cole was alone with another debt he could never repay. Grief turned to cold rage within Cole's chest. Hank had been more than a friend. He'd been a reminder that even in this savage land, honor still existed. Now he was gone, another name on the long list of those Cole had failed to protect. Cole cleaned his weapons methodically, each movement precise and deliberate. His mind cleared to a singular purpose. Wilson had taken his family. Reed had taken Sarah. Both would pay, and this time, Cole wouldn't be hunting alone. The Apache warrior's arrival felt like the hand of fate, or perhaps the final piece of a puzzle Cole had been assembling for 5 years. As he stepped out into the night air, Cole looked up at stars scattered across the black desert sky. "I'll make this right, Hank," he whispered. "For both of us." Diablo's cross held its secrets close, but Cole knew how to extract them. With silver dollars or cold steel, whatever worked faster. By midnight, he had his answers. Malcolm Reed had taken Sarah not back toward civilization, but deeper into the Badlands, straight toward Wilson's camp. The local brothel owner, a Mexican woman named Rosa, who had seen too much of men's cruelty to be shocked by anything, filled in the gaps over glasses of mezcal. "Reed and Wilson were partners for years," she explained, "until Wilson took something that belonged to Reed, something precious." "What?" Cole demanded. Rosa's dark eyes held ancient sorrows. Reed had a woman he loved, not owned, loved. Wilson took her, used her, then killed her when she tried to escape, but not before she bore a child. The pieces clicked into place with terrible clarity. Sarah. See, the girl is Reed's daughter, though she does not know it. He has searched for years. Cole stood abruptly, throwing coins on the table. Where would Reed take her? To confront Wilson, of course, to show him what he has found before he kills him. Rosa crossed herself. But Wilson has many men. Reed rides into death. As Cole turned to leave, a shadow in the corner moved. A man stepped into the lamplight, tall, straight-backed despite his years, with the unmistakable features of an Apache warrior. Gray streaked his long black hair, and scars mapped a lifetime of battles across his face. "You hunt the ones who took the girl," the man said. Not a question. Cole's hand hovered near his gun. "Who's asking?" "I am Hawkeye." The Apache's voice was deep, measured. "The girl you call Sarah, she is of my blood." Rosa nodded confirmation. "He speaks truth. The woman Wilson took from Reed was first taken from Hawkeye's people. The girl is of mixed blood. Reed's wife was Hawkeye's daughter," Rosa explained. "She was captured during a raid 15 years ago. Reed found her, fell in love, married her. They had a child, Sarah. When Wilson discovered this, he targeted Reed's family specifically. Some say out of jealousy, others say for control of their business." "What do you want?" Cole asked, though he already knew. "To kill Wilson, to bring my granddaughter home." Hawkeye's eyes were obsidian, unreadable. "You know their camp. I know how to approach unseen." Under different circumstances, Cole might have laughed at the irony. A Confederate soldier, an Apache warrior, and a Mexican brothel owner plotting revenge against common enemies. But there was no humor in him now, only cold purpose. By dawn, Cole and Hawkeye were moving through the desert like ghosts, following game trails and ancient Apache paths that no white man would notice. The older warrior moved with a silence that impressed even Cole, whose own tracking skills had been honed by 5 years of hunting killers. "Why did you not search for her before?" Cole asked during a brief rest. "I have searched for many years." Hawkeye's face revealed nothing. "The spirits led me to you. Now we finish it together." They reached the overlooking ridge by nightfall. Below them, Wilson's camp sprawled across a natural basin. Tents, cabins, corrals for horses. Men moved between buildings, carrying rifles. At the center stood a larger cabin, lamplight gleaming from its windows. Using a brass spyglass, Cole observed armed men patrolling the perimeter. Near the main cabin, 2 figures argued. One he recognized from wanted posters as Malcolm Reed. The other, a bear-like man with a full beard, could only be Jack Wilson himself. Between them, bound to a post, was Sarah. 15 armed men, Cole muttered. "Maybe more inside the buildings." Hawkeye nodded. "Many guns against 2 warriors." "Bad odds," Cole agreed. "Good death," the Apache replied with the ghost of a smile. They formulated their plan as the camp settled for the night. Cole had brought dynamite from the supplies in Diablo's Cross, enough to create a diversion on the far side of the camp. Hawkeye would use his bow to silently eliminate perimeter guards. Then they would converge on the main cabin from opposite directions. As midnight approached, Cole prepared the explosives, while Hawkeye painted his face with war symbols that had struck terror into settlers for generations. "If we succeed," Cole said quietly, "what happens to Sarah?" "She returns to her people, learns our ways." Hawkeye studied Cole's face. "You could come. You have no tribe now." Cole shook his head. "After this, I don't know what's left of me." The attack began with fire and thunder. Cole's dynamite exploded at the camp's southern edge, sending men scrambling in confusion. Hawkeye's arrows found 3 guards before anyone realized they were under attack. Cole moved in from the west, Winchester firing with deadly precision. The camp dissolved into chaos. Shouts, gunfire, men running without purpose. Cole cut through them like a reaper, each shot finding its mark. He'd waited 5 years for this moment, rehearsed it in dreams and nightmares. Nothing would stop him now. He reached the main cabin as Hawkeye approached from the opposite side. Inside, they could hear shouting. Wilson and Reed, still locked in their own deadly drama. Cole kicked in the door, rifle ready. The scene before him froze in his memory. Wilson holding Sarah as a human shield, a knife at her throat. Reed on his knees, already wounded. Blood pooling on rough wooden floors. "Davidson," Wilson's voice was surprisingly soft for such a large man. "Heard you've been looking for me." 5 years, Cole confirmed. Winchester aimed at Wilson's head, looking for a shot that wouldn't hit Sarah. Long time to hate a man. Wilson's knife pressed deeper against Sarah's skin, drawing a thin line of blood. All because you weren't there when your family needed you. The words struck like physical blows, but Cole's aim never wavered. Let her go. This is between us. Wilson laughed, a sound like stones grinding together. Nothing's ever just between two men. There's always complications. He nodded toward Reed. Like him, came to claim his precious daughter, as if blood means anything out here. Sarah's eyes widened at the revelation. Reed, despite his wounds, strained toward her. Sarah, I've searched for you since he took your mother. Shut up, Wilson snarled, tightening his grip on Sarah. She's mine. I raised her. You enslaved her, Cole said coldly. I made her strong. Wilson's eyes gleamed with madness. Strong enough to survive, which is more than you did for your family. Cole's finger tensed on the trigger, but Sarah caught his eye. Something passed between them, a message, a decision. She gave the slightest nod. You know why I really let her live? Wilson continued, unaware of the silent communication. She reminded me of your wife. Same eyes. I wanted to keep a piece of what I took from you. Why? Cole demanded, his voice barely controlled. Why my family? We never crossed paths before. Wilson's laugh was hollow. You really don't remember. Virginia, 63. You led a raid on a Confederate supply train, killed the guards. One was my brother. His eyes darkened. I swore I'd take everything from you, just like you took from me. War never ends, Davidson. It just changes battlefields. In that moment, Sarah moved, not away from the knife, but into it, driving her elbow into Wilson's ribs. The blade cut her, but the unexpected movement made Wilson flinch. It was all Cole needed. The Winchester roared. The bullet passed so close to Sarah's head that she felt its heat, before striking Wilson squarely between the eyes. He collapsed backward, the fearsome Jack Wilson reduced to meat and bone. Reed tried to stand, to reach for Sarah, but an arrow suddenly protruded from his shoulder. Hawk eyes warning. She is of my blood, the Apache said from the doorway. You abandoned her mother to Wilson. I searched for them, Reed protested weakly. For years. Not hard enough, Hawkeye replied. Another arrow knocked and ready. Sarah, bleeding but alive, looked between the three men. Cole, who had protected her, Reed, who had fathered her, Hawkeye, who shared her blood. Her choice was clear. I go with my grandfather, she said, moving to stand beside Hawkeye. She turned to Cole. What will you do now? Cole looked down at Wilson's body, at the man who had haunted his dreams for 5 long years. He felt nothing. No satisfaction, no peace, just emptiness where hatred had burned for so long. I don't know, he admitted. As dawn broke over the mountains, Wilson's camp was eerily quiet. The survivors had fled, taking what they could carry. Reed was bound, facing Apache justice for his role in the death of Hawkeye's daughter. According to their traditions, he would be given a chance to prove his worth through trials of endurance and courage. If he survived, he might one day earn the right to see his daughter again, but never to claim her. The three stood beside their horses as the first golden light touched the desert. Come with us, Sarah said to Cole. My grandfather's people would welcome a warrior like you. Cole shook his head. My war isn't over yet. He looked northward, toward the territory still wild and lawless. But maybe I'm fighting it wrong. Hunting ghosts brings no peace, Hawkeye observed. No, Cole agreed. But maybe helping the living might. He mounted judgment, feeling lighter somehow, as if leaving something behind in that blood-soaked cabin. The weight of 5 years of hatred, perhaps. Or maybe just the illusion that vengeance could heal what was broken inside him. When your spirit is ready, Hawkeye said, Follow the western wind. You will find us. Cole nodded, then turned his horse northward. He had no destination in mind, just a growing sense that somewhere beyond the horizon, something waited for him. Not redemption, he was too realistic to hope for that, but perhaps purpose. He rode to the top of a ridge and paused, looking out over the vast landscape. In the distance, a dust cloud rose, a wagon train under attack by what appeared to be bandits. Without conscious thought, Cole checked his Winchester, ensured his Colt was loaded, and spurred judgment forward. The path to redemption was never straight and never ended. But for the first time in 5 years, Cole Davidson was riding towards something, not just away from his past. As he galloped down the ridge, wind in his face and purpose in his heart, Cole felt something stir within him. Not happiness, not yet, but the possibility of it. The weight of vengeance had been lifted, replaced by something lighter, something that felt remarkably like freedom. Perhaps redemption wasn't about finding peace with the past, but finding purpose in the future. And in the wilderness of the American frontier, that was as close to hope as a man could get.